Dear audience, welcome and thank you for checking my presentation. In today's class, we will discuss about the ecological footprint, tracing its history to its calculations to the concept of ecological deficit and reserves. A little bit discussion on Earth overshoot and some of the ways to reduce ecological footprint are included in this presentation. So without further delays, let's start with today's presentation. Ecological Footprint was conceived in 1990 by Mathis Buckner Nigel and William Rees at the University of British Columbia. Please excuse if I've not pronounced the name correctly. Ecological footprint is now widely used by scientists, businesses, and governments, individuals, and working institutions to monitor ecological resource use and advance the studies of sustainable development. The most prominent calculations are those produced for countries. We call those the national footprint and biocapacity accounts. The ecological footprint is the only metric that measures how much nature we have and how much nature we can use. Ecological footprint helps countries improve their sustainability and well-being. It helps local leaders optimize public project investments. It helps individuals understand their impact on the planet. Ecological footprint accounting measures the demand on and supply of nature. On the demand side, the ecological footprint adds up all the productive area for which a population, a person, or a product competes. It measures the required ecological assets for any given population or product to produce consumable natural resource product such as plant-based food product, livestock and fish product, timber and other forest product, space for urban infrastructure. Also measures the capacity of ecological assets to absorb its waste, especially carbon emissions. The ecological footprint tracks the use of productive surface areas such as cropland, grazing land, fishing ground, built-up land, forest area, and carbon demand on land. On the supply side is the biocapacity of state, city, or nation. It represents the productivity of an ecological asset such as productive yield of cropland, cattle grazed on a grazing land, timber produced on forest land, fish population on a fishing ground, and built-up area in a city. Besides productive use of these assets, they may also serve to absorb the waste we generate, especially our carbon emissions from burning fossil fuel, especially if left unharvested. This is an illustration of the demand and supply side of ecological footprint accounting. Can you correlate the supply and its productivity? Say, for example, forest to timber and or paper. Ecological footprint and biocapacity are expressed in global hectares. These are globally comparable standardized hectares with world average productivity. Each state, city, or nation's ecological footprint can therefore be compared to its biocapacity or that of the world or to a similar region in another part of the world. The global hectare represented as GHA, is a measurement unit for ecological footprint of people or activities, and the biocapacity global hectares is a measurement unit for the ecological footprint of Earth or its region. According to Wikipedia, one global hectare is the world's annual amount of biological production for human use and human waste assimilation per hectare of globally productive land and fisheries. Here is a slide on equivalency of measurement unit. Please note these for future references. So, how do we calculate global hectares? According to Wikipedia, ecological footprint can be calculated for individual people, groups of people such as nation, and activities such as manufacturing of a product. We do this by calculating total biological production and waste assimilation in the world, including crops, forest, both wood production and carbon dioxide absorption, grazing, and fishing. The total of these kinds of production, as given in the previous bullet, is divided by the number of hectares used. Biological productive areas including cropland, forest, and fishing ground, and do not include deserts, glaciers, and the open oceans. Global hectares per person refers to the amount of production and waste assimilation per person on the planet. In 2012, approximately, production and waste assimilation was 12.2 billion global hectares or 1.7 global hectares per person, while the consumption was 20.1 billion global hectares or 2.8 global hectares per person, which translates to an alarming statistics, that is 65% more was consumed than it was produced. Which brings us to our next concept known as the ecological deficit. If a population's ecological footprint exceeds the region's biocapacity, that is, more is consumed than what can be provided for, that region runs into a biocapacity deficit. A region in ecological deficit means its demand by importing or liquidating its own ecological assets and or emitting carbon dioxide more into the atmosphere. In its simplest term, the demand of the population that a country can provide exceeds what a region's ecosystem can produce or regenerate. Let's state that from another perspective. The demand of the population in a region for the goods and the services to maintain its quality of life that its land and sea can provide, such as fruits, vegetables, meat, fish, wood, cotton for clothing, and carbon dioxide absorption exceeds the quantity that such a region's ecosystem can produce or regenerate. It is known as an ecological deficit. If a region's biocapacity exceeds its ecological footprint, it has what we call as a biological or biocapacity reserve. I would encourage you all to visit this website and to explore data of different countries. Select a country and present your finding on Sunday's class referring to a country's data such as imports and exports, etc. Justify your data and present your findings on Sunday's class. Ecological overshoot occurs when a population's demand on an ecosystem exceeds the capacity of that ecosystem to regenerate the resources it consumes and to absorb its carbon dioxide emissions. Ecological overshoot leads to a depletion of the planet's life-supporting biological capital and/or to an accumulation of carbon dioxide emissions. We introduce another concept known as the Earth Overshoot Day. This date corresponds to the moment when humans have already consumed the resources that the planet can produce in 1 year. In 2020, the Earth overshoot was the 22nd of July. For 2019, the Earth Overshoot Day was 29th of July. For the past 10 years, the day of Earth shoot has been decreasing. Why do you think that there was a delay of about 1 month in 2019 and in 2020? What do you think it is? This image shows Earth Overshoot Day for different countries. This map shows the land surface resized by its population, overlaid with the data about each country's ecological footprint measured in global hectare consumption per capita.
Maria Carolina Schmitz-Aldivar, Minister of Environment, Chile and Chair of the Climate Conference of Parties 25 in 2019 stated, with Earth Overshoot Day occurring ever earlier in the year, and a big part of it being the growing amounts of carbon dioxide emissions, the importance of decisive action is becoming ever more evident.
This map shows the land surface resized by its total ecological footprint in each area interpolated from a population grid and national level data for each country's ecological footprint. Each transformed grid cell in the map is proportional to the per- total number of people living in that area multiplied by the respective national ecological footprint measured in global hectares consumed per capita.
Evo Morales in 2008 stated, we can pay the ecological debt by changing economic models, and by giving up luxury consumption, setting aside selfishness and individualism, and thinking about the people and the planet Earth.
Please also go through the handouts provided by this week. Here are some of the ways to reduce the ecological footprint. Reduce your meat consumption, recycle and give new life to materials, optimize your energy consumptions, opt for green energy company, produce your own energy, move sustainably. Can you think of some other ways to reduce your ecological footprint? Like all good things must come to an end, we have also come to an end of today's session. What do you think of today's discussion? I hope you learned something new today. What are some of your activities affecting our environment the most? Share your activities in the comments so that we can avoid them. Can you think of some of the ways to reduce your ecological footprints? Tell me of them in the comment section below. Using information in these slides and the internet, can you calculate and share your or your country's ecological footprint? For any further questions, comments in future, use the comments section. Thank you for listening to this presentation. I hope you liked it and would like to subscribe to my channel for all future learning experiences. A big thank you. खुश रहो, आबाद रहो.